From the Paddock Mall Studios, this is Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. So recently, we've been going through some of our old interviews, and we've been uploading them as best ofs and using them as podcasts. And I was looking for the one from John Tesh that we did some time ago, and we had put it up on YouTube, and it said blocked because I had used copyrighted stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the copyrighted stuff was John Tesh's music.
Yeah, right.
So when I read, and I think, oh my gosh, all this time, so I redid it, and I edited it so that it's just that's why I'm not using his music in the intro right now.
Yes.
So I edited it so that the very beginning had just a little bit of his music, and then you hear us starting to talk. John Tesh, I'm sure you all know who he is. He's been on these airwaves for, oh my gosh, a long time now at nighttime. Plus, of course, you probably know him from his own music, not just the music he plays on the radio. He's an amazingly talented musician. He's the recipient of 6 music Emmys, 3 gold records, 2 Grammy nominations, 7 public television specials. You know him from Entertainment Tonight. I think that was the show, right?
Yes.
Intelligence for Your Life is what we all call his show. Let's see, there's so many things on here to read. The host and music composer for the Barcelona Olympic Games and the Atlanta Olympic Games.
He's amazing.
And he's coming here. He's going to be in the Villages in the Spanish Springs community at the Sharon L. Morris Performing Arts Center. Is that the one that used to be the church?
The church.
Now? Oh, it is?
Yes,
that's the one that used to be the church. Okay.
I believe so.
John Tesh, good morning, sir. How are you?
Fine. First of all, thank you for spending the time doing those edits. I think that's wonderful, and I'm sorry I didn't block anybody. I think the computer's my computer's like, wow, this is the only John Tesh song I recognize. So
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, YouTube will do that. They didn't do that in the beginning, but I guess they do it now, and they don't mind going back and backtracking to when they didn't check them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they block me when I post my own songs because the record companies over the years. So I just sing the songs now, just sort of sing the melodies. so just so this one doesn't get blocked, if you want to put it up, if you say like, "Hey John, what was one of the songs that you've done?" and say, "Oh, it's a basketball team," and I'll just go, "Gang, gang, 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 gang," and
that's Popeye.
You're right. Yeah.
That sounds like
no,
Popeye.
that's gonna get us blocked. So never mind.
Yeah, right.
By the way, the last what we look for when we pick the best are not necessarily famous people, although you qualify for that. It's people who we seem to click with, and when I was listening to it, I said to Robin, "We sounds like we're friends with John Tesh." Mm-hmm. So hopefully you feel the same way. But we did.
I absolutely do. And you should also know that when I was on Entertainment Tonight, as many years ago, like 23 million people a night saw us, and so I was sort of I don't know, newsy famous or something for a while.
Right.
But now I was just at an event the other day with my grandkids, and somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, didn't you used to be John Tesh?" And I'm like, yeah. I don't know. That's what I said, okay, yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah.
That way, that's a compliment, right?
I think so. Let's go with that.
I was watching this thing with Penn Jillette, and he lost a lot of weight, and so people don't even know who he is anymore. I guess they're starting to now. He's got a new look, but so I'm guessing that's just part of it. It's something I'll never know, Robin. Nobody ever comes up to me and says, "Are you Larry?"
No, I'm sure you probably your voice gets recognized in the checkout line. That happened to me years ago when we used to have 411 operators, and I called up and they said, "Hey, are you John Tesh?" I said, "Okay,
isn't that right?" Yeah, that does happen. What I don't like is when somebody is like sitting at a table in a restaurant and they turn, and I'll say to Robin, "I think they know our voices." Just I'm not sure. They're not saying anything.
Sure. For sure. Yeah. And then they say, well, I did a Hall of Fame thing in North Carolina a couple of weeks ago, and these other guys, these gospel guys, came up and to my wife and me, and they said, we were looking across the room, and we said, well, that looks like John Tesh, but that's not the John Tesh that I remember. And I'm like, okay. It's time for some serious surgery or something.
What? Oh my gosh!
You take your picture of years gone by and take it to your plastic surgeon and say, right? "I want to look like this guy."
This is why I'm so excited about coming to the Villages because I'm a 3-time grandpa now. I mean, I know I wake up in the middle of the night, have to go to the bathroom 4 times, so I have plenty to talk to everybody about.
Oh, that should be in your bio. Forget the 6 music Emmys.
You're very relatable, John. Let me tell you.
Yeah, they're not. They're no use now. No use now. They're not helping me when I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
There a couple things I had to laugh at when I was listening to the old interview. First of all, you were telling us how you grew up on Long Island and somehow you got rid of the Long Island accent, and how there was some girl who said, "You going to ask me out of what?" Hey, Tesh, remember you said
that was the Sadie Hawkins dance. It was like, so Tesh, you going to ask me out or what? There were never any T's in it.
And I think we promised you a jaw harp too. I know you called it a Jew's harp, but
yeah,
do you remember that?
We'll have to bring it to you.
Yeah, I think we reneged on an offer.
I've got the kazoo.
When you're doing your concert, will you also be playing the trumpet?
No. I only use that to play to wake up my family. I actually played the trumpet in a couple of concerts, and it was just. I picked it up. First of all, I'm 6'6" and I'm 225 pounds. So it's like, oh, so the tight end came to play. Piano. So piano is fine, but when you pick up a trumpet, it's like, why did you pick up that toy? Because it looks tiny in my hands. So, and the other thing is, everybody has this stuff in their contract writer. We say, you have to have a piano that's 7 feet or bigger, and sometimes they don't have one around. But if I play a piano that's like 5 feet, and there are grand pianos that are 5 feet, I look just like Schroeder.
Oh,
oh, that's good. That's good. And so, have you been to the Sharon before? By the way, it's a really beautiful theater.
Yeah, we've played there before, but I can't remember what theater we played in. So, and it's been a while, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
How do you choose your set list for each particular venue that you perform at?
Yeah, it's a good. This particular show is something that is going to be a PBS special if I can ever get it right. It's called Stories from the Grand Piano, and so we come in with about 15 songs, stories and stuff, and I'll move things around just based on what the audience was all about. When my agent came to me years ago and said, "Hey, I want you to play a couple of shows at this place called The Villages," and I looked it up, and I said, "I'm not doing that." I said, "This sounds like Branson," and they go, "No, listen, trust me. If you don't like it, then you can fire me." He said, "But you got to come and experience the excitement in this community." And I said, "Okay." So I get there, right? I land and I take the car and I get into town, and I immediately almost get hit by 3 golf carts, like 75 miles an hour. There's beer on tap at the on each street corner, and I'm like, wow, this looks like fun. And then it was like one of the best audiences we had ever had, and I didn't want to leave.
Yeah,
So I'm really excited about coming back.
Yeah, they told you the truth. It really is a very vibrant community, and you fit in so perfectly well there. So this the show that you're doing is not a Christmas show, right? It's just what is it exactly?
Yeah, exactly. What is it?
That was a bad way to ask, I guess.
What is it? We'll play a couple of Christmas tunes, but it really is. I'm in the middle of writing a memoir. HarperCollins came to me after I went through a very serious cancer battle that lasted for 3 years, and my whole family went through it with me.
Oh wow!
And I got out on the other side of it and was healed. And they came and said, you've had a goofy, crazy life, and it's amazing that you're still alive. Would you like to write about it? And I got excited because somebody offered me a book deal. The problem is that when you say yes to a book deal, you actually have to write the book.
Oh yeah,
yeah, right.
And it's like thousands of words, And
well, I'm glad I heard about this after you got well, because I don't think I even knew that you were going through cancer. What? Tell us about that a little bit. What did you have cancer of?
Yeah, it was a very rare form of prostate cancer, and they didn't find it in my blood. They just found it accidentally. And we went to UCLA, and this was 2015. For biopsies and scans and everything, and they basically, in front of Connie and I, my wife, they just said, "Well, you probably should talk about, talking to your family and getting your affairs in order." And they gave me like 18 months to live.
Oh,
I know. So it was an amazing journey. And the wild thing is that I sort of went into neutral. I was like, well, this is when I was 63. So I've had a good life. I've done, and so I started making plans for my son to take over the radio show and the canceled concerts and all that kind of stuff. And I had a friend of mine, this pastor friend of mine, who says, "You know what? You're speaking death over yourself. You're planning your own demise. Don't you have more to do? Don't you have more to say? And don't you have faith?" And so it changed my whole outlook. And that's part of what we talk about on the stage is what happens even when you're 70, 75, 80 years old. If there are a lot of people who haven't found their purpose in life yet, right? And that's really what our goal is on stage, is to sort of tell the story of me being homeless at 20 years old, in North Carolina, and then 3 years later anchoring the news in New York City right down the hall from Walter Cronkite. Right. So that's a lot of what these stories are about. But yeah, and I talk about the combination of not only surgery and chemo and all that stuff, but also a really radical diet that I'm still on, that people are starting to embrace now, called the ketogenic diet. And then this real focused prayer and meditation and visualization. So I think that we've had some good results from people who have seen the show.
So the diet and the visualization are both kind of I guess alternative, but you feel like they made a difference for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because finally, the ancient book, aka the Bible, has some great stuff in there. Healing scriptures, and so what we were doing was we were focusing on that, and then using meditation, right, to really get control of your body, and that's really what's fasting. My wife and I fast 20 hours a day every day. So we only eat in a 4-hour window. But I got to tell you, you don't want to be anywhere near me in that 4-hour window.
Oh my!
Oh, when you get close to the 4 hours,
chew a leg.
Why
off.
Do you get hangry? We call it hangry, right?
I get hangry. Yeah, but a lot of what it's funny. A lot of what Tony Robbins and Oprah and Dr. Joe Dispenza and Tim Ferriss and a lot of these guys who are personal development guys, a lot of what they talk about with visualization. It's right there in the Old and New Testament, and so this is not a revival that we're going to have at the Villages, but it's an interesting way to look at healing, and I think a lot of scientists are looking at, well, maybe we shouldn't just be going after stuff with chemicals and surgery. Maybe a combination of all of stuff.
Well, there's no secret that most of the food we eat has been processed with chemicals, and so we, in a way, eating right is probably where or not eating right is where we went wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's well said. The number one takeaway from at least from what I say, other than the music, in these concerts is we're gonna, we need to stop speaking to death and destruction over. We all walk around just like, I used to anyway. As soon as I got diagnosed with cancer, I started talking like a cancer patient, or we're worried, or our finances, or this and that. And the more we talk about that, right, the more of our brain hears it, the more our subconscious mind hears it, and we become okay with that.
You should have called us. You should have called us, because we are the antidote. We are the antidote for negative thinking.
That's right.
I can already tell that.
Do you, when there are tragedies that happen and you're on tour and you're playing a venue that evening and hear about this tragedy, how do you handle it?
I don't ignore it. And it's this latest tragedy in the synagogue. It's one of those things where there's so much evil in the world right now, and if we don't, even without us being mean to each other, there's enough evil to go around. So I think we're hopefully reaching the tipping point, as Malcolm Gladwell talks about, where we're just like, okay, listen, I need to default to being nice to everybody and to
that's it, yeah,
tolerance, and so we don't ever ignore that.
That story is just a sad story. That the guy who sent the bombs that never exploded. That's also a sad commentary on the climate of the world and the climate of the parties in this country. The Democrat and Republican. We went to a concert here. We have a great orchestra, by the way, in Ocala. Mm-hmm. And so we went to see them, and the conductor, his name is Matthew Wardell, he said to the audience, "You're all enjoying this right now, but when you leave, some of you are going to be Democrats and some of you are Republicans, and you're going to be yelling at each other." But right now, this music brings us all together, and there's a lot of truth to that. I'm sure you see it as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were actually in New York when a lot of those bombs ended up being distributed in that area, and we're like about 5 blocks away from us. And it's amazing what that does to everybody in the city, as you might imagine. The thing I'm most concerned about, because I was a broadcaster since I was 19 years old, right? And when you're on live television, I mean, literally anything can come out of your mouth. I mean, you're responsible, right, and you're smart and everything, but we've just lost grace. We don't have grace anymore. Somebody makes a mistake.
Well said.
And I'm not talking about, somebody attacks a woman or attacks a man or whatever. Yeah, listen, you need to be responsible for that. But something slips out of your mouth, right? And you're done. You're done. And I think we've become so crazily politically correct that somebody does something and they're done forever. Their career's over. And that's really scary for me.
Robin and I were talking about the Megyn Kelly firing, and I said to Robin, "Do you remember Eddie Murphy did an exact opposite? He dressed up like a white man, and it was a funny bit on SNL. I mean, years ago." But now we don't think of everything's incorrect nowadays. So it was so weird.
You know what's really interesting is that my son Gil, who's a very thoughtful kid, at 37, he's a kid. He said, if they had that, if somebody on the View had quote unquote made that mistake that Megyn made, they would have talked it out, right? Because Whoopi would have said, or somebody would have said on the set, they would have said, "Hey, whoa, wait a second. What are you talking about?" Right? And they would have talked the whole thing out.
Right.
The problem with what Megyn did, and yes, it was an ignorant comment, but what she said was something that she had the authority at the moment, and nobody at that moment could say, "Whoa, what are you talking about right here?"
Good point. Good point.
So now what we did was we all talked about it on Twitter. I grew up in a family with a dad who was from the deep South, and he was a real tough guy out of World War II, and he was a racist and a bigot, and that nearly until he got sick, right, and found God and realized what he was doing. He did a tremendous amount of damage to my sisters, to me, to our friends, and it's a horrible place to be, and I'm sorry we haven't grown out of it yet.
You and Connie have done something extraordinary, because she is a huge actress and personality in her own right, as are you. But you managed to keep your private life private and your public life public, and you're not on the covers of tabloids or anything like that, and that's to be admired.
I appreciate it. We just don't go outside,
Hey, how's Vinny doing? That should be your brother-in-law, right? How's he doing?
Yeah, Vinny's doing great. And for those of you who don't know, Vinny was a drug addict for 35 years, and got clean and sober, and now he's working with a program that we have called Intelligent Kindness, where he helps out veterans and he helps out the homeless. So yeah, we really do work as a family, and when we come to the concert, Gib will be there. He does comedy at the beginning of the show and plays a few songs. My son, and then my daughter, who is 24, who has a degree in ballet and modern dance. She's dancing with us.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so it's the Partridge Family.
And what is her first name?
Say again?
What is your daughter's first name?
Her name is Prima, which is so weird, right? Because we didn't know that she was going to be a ballerina. It's that sort of
That's right.
Thing where
That's good.
That thing when silvers become silversmiths.
Right.
But yeah, so her grandpa is on Connie's side is Primo, and then she was named.
Oh my gosh, how wonderful! Yeah. Love the family.
You're going to be in the area. Let's see, on November 16th. Oh, that's not that far away.
No, coming up.
Was that 2 weeks from Friday, right?
Friday.
Wow.
Yeah, this is when I have a conversation like this, it's like, wait a second, I didn't practice piano yet today.
So Don, I'm sorry, not Donnie. Jimmy Osmond did also play the same theater you're playing. I think, was it that one?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And he came into the studio. I don't know. I'm trying to guilt you into actually doing this in the studio.
I would love to. I have no idea what time we're going to land. Absolutely.
Are you a pilot? Do you have your own plane?
No. I tried that when I was in college. For some reason, I took 15 hours in a Cessna. And so we got to the point where the guy goes, the instructor goes, okay, today we're going to stall. And I said, okay. So we get up there,
oh, no.
right? And he points the plane straight up into the sky, and we start falling backwards.
Oh no!
And I said, I remember vividly. I just said, "That's it. Land this thing."
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that would be the end for me.
Yep. I don't think I'm going to be a pilot now.
Dan is the guy who got you on the show today, and he is a pilot. He did the same thing. He took the lessons locally, and then probably had to do that same move you just talked about right there.
It's amazing. It's amazing amount of freedom. Except if I was to fly like a single engine plane from California to the Villages, I need to start now.
So
they're soupy. I'll be there in a minute.
So, who are your children's musical influences? I'm usually children aren't influenced by their parents. Well, maybe sometimes they are. I think, right? Are they influenced by you?
Not at all.
Yeah.
The grandkids are influenced by me. We have 7, 5, and 2 years old.
Aw.
Because I only know how to play the wheels on the bus, and I can do all verses on that.
Hey, Robin, you got to learn that.
No, I have to learn that.
We have such a great life because we put our radio and television studios in our house, in our guest house. So because the traffic is so bad in California and Los Angeles. So we spend a lot of time, with family, and the grandkids have grown up under. I have a 9-foot grand piano in the living room, and they've grown up under that piano. So
I bet, yeah.
I would say 2 of them already have perfect pitch.
Oh, you know what I saw the other day?
Yeah.
I saw this. I don't know how old it was, but I was watching this YouTube video, and it was one of those America's Got Talent or Britain's. It's one with Simon Cowell, and the girl on stage has a ukulele, and she's deaf. And she's 18 years old. She had this dream to be a singer ever since she was younger, and she lost her hearing. Or maybe she lost her hearing when she was 18. But anyway, so she's telling how she was taking music lessons, and the piano instructor was playing something, and the class was supposed to transcribe it onto paper. And then she couldn't hear him. That's when she noticed that her hearing was gone. And I thought, wow. I can't do that. I mean, I play a guitar, but I couldn't listen to something and put it into notes. Can you do that?
I can tell you what key it's in, and I can tell you what the chords are. But if I had to transcribe something that was complicated, I couldn't do it.
Oh my gosh.
Really, all it is everybody has that inside them, But it's that 10,000 hour rule that Malcolm Gladwell is talking about. When you look back at Mozart, everybody thinks, "Oh my gosh, what a genius!" But listen, when he was a year and a half, he was sitting on top of his dad's piano. Same way with Alexa. Her name is Alexa. Alexa Joel, Billy Joel's daughter. There are videos of her in the bassinet on top of the piano while Billy was singing. Now she's a tremendous singer. It's all about I think the way I'll teach my grandkids, if they let me, to play an instrument, play piano, is not by reading. You can always learn how to read, right?
Right.
But learn how the old jazz musicians did, where you just listen, and then try and figure it out on your instrument.
Just figure it out, yeah. Okay, we are at the end of this interview, but I wanted to make sure the listeners know that you are John Tesh, first of all, in case you just tuned in, you didn't know who we were talking to. And John Tesh is coming to our area, to the Villages. It'll be Friday, November 16th, in the Spanish Springs Town Square. Right, I think that's right across the street from the movie theater. It's the Sharon L. Morse Performing Arts Center. If you've ever been down there and didn't realize what that was, it looks like a church. So you'll be at home, kind of, John, because of your faith and everything like that. It's not a church anymore, but I think you'll enjoy it.
Anyway, how do you decide when the interview is over? It's like okay, this is terrible now. It's time to go, or is it a time?
There's a clock.
Okay.
There's a clock.
That makes me feel better.
But Robin said there's other interviews with you, so hopefully one of them you can be in the studio. That would be outstanding.
I would love it, and thanks so much. It's great therapy for me. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, for us too. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Hi, Hi, Matt Wilkerson here, your Verizon representative with news that will hum your car, make it smart and safe. How? With the new Hum device by Verizon. You can rest assured you're never alone. Flat tire? Lost? Accident? For $10 a month, Hum by Verizon has you covered. And I will come to you in Marion County to install the Hum for free. Time to call me at 352-528-0020. Are you ready to hum along? Call 352-528-0020.